Right. Well, we're going to talk about the Greater Exodus. Let's get acquainted. The Greater Exodus is probably never, ever been. Have I ever heard a teaching in the main denominations, Christianity or anything like that? You just don't hear it. I mean, they'll pull verses and off here and there and stuff, and they talk about all the things with like rapture and the Old Testament quotes and the prophets and prophecies and Messiah, Mashiach, and Yeshua, or Jesus, okay? So I'm not opposed to any of those things, but we are going to read whole prophecies. We're not just going to take half of a verse or two verses and teach a whole prophecy thing on it. And I'm going to do a lot of reading because my goal today is for you to hear what Yah says about His Word, not to hear my opinion. Okay, and I'm not opposed to people voicing their opinions because I will actually do that on occasion. But the point is, what is the Greater Exodus? And everybody says, well, it's just like the rapture. That's never found anywhere is ever called the Greater Exodus anywhere in Scripture. Oh, it can't be. Well, all those things. Well, maybe you want to look at it a little bit differently. So I've tweaked the presentations that you've seen at last, or the YouTube, the whole series, the question and answers on there. I don't know if we'll have time for question and answers today. I'm going to go 12:45 if that's okay. All right, and I think it'll get us 45 minutes in. So that's about how long this part one is. The other ones are longer. And so if you want to watch the whole series, go on YouTube. You'll find it. Go to our website. Just type in the Greater Exodus, and you'll see this picture up there, a bunch of these for all the 5 parts plus the question and answer session. And I only tell you that because if you want to study more, because we can't get it all in today. It's about an hour-long teaching for 5 parts plus question and answers on top of that. And by the way, for those who have been around, I got in the works parts 6, 7, 8, and 9. Seriously, there's that much stuff. And there, we're not so much reading all the scriptures. Today and next, then part 2, there's lots of scriptures. And part 3 is Brit Hadashah. Part 4 is and I'm telling you about this so you'll be aware and acquainted. There's a lot more to this than just what I read today. There's only a portion of the verses about the Greater Exodus. So the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament readings, we go through that. And how does that relate to the rapture? And could that be kind of the same thing related and stuff? So I'm going to just jump right into it. And we will talk about the Greater Exodus. Today's part 1, Return, House of Israel and House of Judah, or Yehuda. All right. The shofar and our theme scripture for all our teachings that we normally do in our congregation, Yirmiyahu. Jeremiah 33:3, thus says Jehovah, it says earlier in the verses, call out to me, quoting, call out to me and I will answer you and tell you great things, hidden things that you are unaware. And so this is a very low number of teachings, just generally, but it is a lot of teachings, and we bring it out prominent. Jeremiah 33, 7 and 8. I will cause the captives of Yehuda, that's the southern kingdom, and the captives of Israel, the northern kingdom, to return as I did, and I will build them up as I did at first. I will cleanse them from all their sins through which they offended me, and I will pardon all their sins through which they offended me and rebelled against me. Now, if you're Jewish, you probably can, or Benjamin tribes, or Levi, or Cohen, you probably could relate to the southern kingdom more. But generally, all of us in this country, generally all of us in the congregations all relate to Israel. Israel, well, that's Ephraim, that's the house of Joseph. Okay, all these names for the northern kingdom that was scattered and lost forever is all you hear about. The 10 lost tribes, well, wherever they lost. All right, so that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about scripture that Yah says. In fact, I don't have this in the quote in this presentation, but one thing that Yah says he would do with all his heart. There's one thing in all of scripture, and that was bring us back, take us back to the land. All the ones that he scattered, Jezreel, scattered as seed sown. Okay, Jezreel means Elohim. The El part is Elohim, short for Elohim. The Jez part is that he's sowing. Okay, when he sows like a farmer would sow seed, he's not just scattering us. He's scattering us, but he knows where every single seed landed and where they landed and where you landed, and you ended up in Humboldt, Texas today, as you were scattered and you were sown here, and Yah, Elohim, El, sowed you here. So this is what he's going to do. He's going to bring us back when Mashiach rules and reigns, Messiah rules and reigns from Jerusalem. That's what this is about. We go back to the land. We rule and reign. Well, but don't we go up into heaven? Well, yeah, no. We don't play harps and sit on clouds. We go back to the land. We rule and reign with Messiah. And even the Christian church believes this, but they don't talk about us going there, going there to, okay? He brings us back to the land. And it's the one thing in all of Scripture, Yah says, I will do with all my being, everything that I am. I'll do this. So that's your promise, and it's a guarantee. So here we go. Today we'll cover some of the scriptures concerning the greater exodus found throughout the prophets, the writings, and the Nevi'im in Hebrew for prophets. Yeshayahu, Isaiah, Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah, and Zechariah. And so, why the name the greater exodus? Where is that name found in Scripture? Well, when is it going to happen? Typical questions that I get, the objections to, well, I may not be right on the last part. I can't give you a date and time because Yeshua said you're not going to get the date and time. The day of Yah, you're not going to get the date and time on that, but it's going to be one day. Remember the nation built today? It's Zion, or Zion. In Hebrew, it's pronounced Zion. T-S, O-N. Okay, so there you go, Zion. Zion or Zion. Okay, the political, eternal capital with Messiah ruling and reigning. So Yehovah will act the second time to gather his people, gathering both Israel, the northern kingdom, and Judah, the southern kingdom, from the four corners of the earth. And by the way, it's not in this presentation either, but he says he would save the tents of Yehuda first.
That's right.
Bring them back first. And is that not what he's done? Okay. So Yeshayahu, Isaiah 11 through 13. On that day, all right, when you hear that phrase, you guys know what that is. On that day, at that time, in that day, he's talking about the day of Yah. Okay? This is the day of Yah. So you're going to hear that lots of times here, and every time you see it, your ears are going to need to perk up because it's one day. Okay? And when Yah says, I've had enough, let's set my fury, okay? So here's, on that day, Yehovah will raise his hand again a second time to reclaim the remnant of his people who remain from Ashur, Egypt, Petros, Ethiopia, Elam, Shinar, Hamat, and the islands in the sea. He will hoist the banner for the Goyim, the nations, the Gentiles, assemble the dispersed of Israel, and gather the scattered of Yehuda from the four corners of the earth. So he's going to gather the northern kingdom, and he's going to gather the southern kingdom too. And he's kind of already started doing the southern kingdom things. But all this will be the rest of them, the rest of us, all his people. Because what is the greater exodus referred to as? The harvest of the ingathering. And who is the Sukkot? Only it's not Sukkot temporary dwelling, it's permanent dwelling. When Yah comes to dwell and tabernacle with us here permanently. Okay? And what is he gathering at the harvest time? Us. His people, his harvest from all over the entire planet. Every nation, tribe, and tongue. Now you got an idea. By the way, have you ever looked at a globe and you've seen the North America and Canada, all that, is North America, Central America, South America, and you ever look on there? Did you notice it's one giant island? The islands in the sea? You think it could be talking about us? Just a thought. Okay? Yehovah, by the way, this way this works, these bullet points, I says, this is what I want you to get out of what I'm talking about here. Okay? I want you to get these points out of what we're going to read, and then we're going to read the verse, and you see if they're in there, and are you going to get the points out of this? This is the main points I want you to see. So Yehovah explains why our ancestors were exiled from land, and the fact that he, capital H, is bringing us back. All right. No longer will be people talk about the first Exodus. No longer will people talk about the first Exodus. This is why it's called the greater Exodus. They will now speak of the Exodus that is so much greater than the first, and we will live again in the land Yehovah gave to us. And then he reiterates it yet again. So here's the verses. 2 verses. This is why it's called the greater Exodus. Okay? Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah 23, 7 and 8. And also chapter 16, verses 14 and 15. Here's 2 different quotes from 2 different chapters. And Yirmiyahu, therefore, says Yehovah, the day will come. Can you imagine this? When people no longer surely say, as Yehovah lives, who brought the people of Israel out of the land of Egypt. They won't be talking about the first Exodus. But as Yehovah lives, who brought the descendants of the house of Israel, the northern kingdom, up from the land to the north, and from all the countries where I drove them. Then they will live in their own land. We're going back to the land, people. Okay, this is all his people. He said, well, I don't really know if I want to, those terrorists. He takes care of all that. But this is what it says. Can you imagine? Okay, can you imagine with me? But people are not going to talk about the first Exodus anymore because this one is so much greater. Okay. The other reference, chapter 16, here's the 14th verse. Therefore, it says, Jehovah, the day will come when people will no longer say, as surely as Jehovah lives, who brought the people of Israel out of the land of Egypt, or Israel out of the land of Mitzrayim. For those who know, Mitzrayim is Egypt. But as Jehovah, what will they say though? They're not going to talk about the first Exodus. What will they say? We'll be talking about Jehovah, the verse here, 15. But as Jehovah lives, who brought the people out of Israel, out of the land to the north, and will bring them out of all the countries where he drove them. Every nation, tribe, and tongue, everybody. For I will bring them back into their own land. See, it is our land, which I gave to their ancestors. The remnant's coming back. But, can you imagine? Yehuda is not going to talk about it Passover anymore. The first Exodus, okay, is going to be talking about the greater Exodus. Can you imagine?
Hallelujah.
Yehuda is not going to talk about it. Why? Because this is so much greater. Every seed that Yah scattered you over the planet, I got scattered and I ended up in Texas. Okay, I was from Oklahoma. Oh, where I was, but from Scotland before that. But that was lots of centuries ago, decades ago. All right, so there you go. You get the idea. So Elohim is smarter than we are. You guys agree? Well, there you go. Here's the verse. I'm going to jump down here. So Yeshayahu, Isaiah 55, 1 through 8. So the underscore part, and I'm not sure if I want to use this or not, but you guys can see it right there. Here's where we're going to jump to, and I just want to focus on this for time's sake, since I did a lot of intro there. Seek Yehovah while he is available. Call on him while he is still nearby. Let the wicked person abandon his way, and the evil person his thoughts. Let him return to Yehovah, and he will have mercy on him. Let him return to our Elohim, for he will freely forgive. For my thoughts, Yah speaking, are not your thoughts, and my ways are not your ways are not my ways, says Yehovah. He said that. All right, we know that. Yeshayahu, continuing chapter 55 of Isaiah 9 and 13. As high as the sky is above the earth, are my ways higher than your ways. That's all pretty high. And my thoughts than your thoughts. For just as rain and snow fall in the sky and do not return there, but the water of the earth, causing it to bud and produce, giving seed to the sower and bread to the eater. Stay with me, everybody. So that my word goes out from my mouth, it will not return to me unfulfilled. That's what Yah says. But it will accomplish what I intend and cause it to succeed what I sent it to do. Yes, you will go out with joy, you will be led forth in peace, and as you come to the mountains and hills will burst into song. And all the trees, when we're coming back, you guys, when we're coming back, all the trees in the countryside will clap their hands. Cypresses will grow in the place of thorns, myrtles, Hadassah, for if you watch One Night with the King, Hadassah. That's, by the way, it's my great-grandmother's name. That was Cherokee Indian on my dad's side. And I have them on my mom's side as well. Myrtles, or Hadassah, will grow instead of briars. Then, that's, by the way, it's trees, tree bushes that are big as trees, and stuff. And they're flowered and stuff. That's what that is, myrtles, if you guys don't know what Hadassah is. This will bring fame to who? Yehovah, as an eternal, imperishable sign. When he brings his people back, that he said he would do it millennia ago, it's going to be a sign. And we're going to know he did it. And everybody in the planet will know he did it, whether they believe or not. They will know. Salvation is for all who will come. Israel is in exile, the northern kingdom. There are more people whom Elohim will gather. So see if that's what it says here. Yeshayahu, Isaiah 56, 6 through 8. You guys know this? And the foreigners, do you feel like a foreigner to Israel today? You go visit the land, you feel like a foreigner? You feel like a foreigner because you've never been there, and it's like all these people with weird things and dressed in all black and wear hats in the service and, oh, wait, okay. Do you feel like a foreigner? So you're going, that's a joke, guys. Who will join themselves to Yehovah and to serve him? Okay, yeah, all the foreigners, if you feel like a foreigner and you're going to join yourself to Yehovah, to serve him, to love the name of Yehovah, do you love his name? To be his workers? Are you going to be his workers? Not just, showing up and then going home and living however you want during the week. All who keep Shabbat and do not profane it, and hold fast to my brit, my covenant, brit in Hebrew. I will bring, this is Yehovah speaking, I will bring them to my holy mountain, Har Habayit, and make them joyful in my house of prayer, for the burnt offerings and sacrifices to be accepted on my altar. For my house, Yah says, will be called a house of prayer for all peoples. Why? Because he scattered this every nation, tribe, and tongue, and we're coming back. Yehovah Elohim says, verse 8, he who gathers Israel's exiles, the 10 lost tribes, the northern kingdom, yet there are others I will gather besides those gathered already. Who's probably the other one? Probably the southern kingdom, Yehuda coming back and stuff. But we'll talk about more than that. We're not trying to figure out every little detail. We're just trying to get an overall view of what we're talking about. What is good news? Who or what is Zion? And salvation is to the ends of the earth. Okay? His salvation is to be to the ends of the earth. Let me check will you move my music stand? Am I still in? Okay. A little bit. Okay. All right. Here we go. Yeshayahu, Isaiah 52, 7 through 10. How beautiful on the mountains are the feet of him who brings good news. Okay, good news. Habasorah. Proclaiming shalom, bringing good news, Habasorah, of good things, announcing salvation. Yeshuat. Okay, and saying to Zion, there you go, there's the spelling for transliteration. It's actually TS, like in Hebrew, but it's pronounced like the TS on the word, into the word nuts. If you believe there's a greater exodus coming, you're not nuts, okay, because it is. So Zion, so it's a Harik Yod, and then probably a Holim Vav, they are there, and a final noon. So Zion. That's the political, everything capital, earthly capital of Messiah ruling and reigning will be called Zion. And that's Zion, people say in English. Your Elohim is king. Huh. Well, listen to that. Verse 8, listen, your watchmen are raising their voices, shouting for joy together. For they will see before their own eyes, Yehovah, with their own eyes, Yehovah returning to Zion. Remember? Whose feet come down and touch the Mount of Olives, and it splits up in the earthquake. So from half of the mountain goes to the north and half to the south, and there's the water and all that stuff, and the fishes, and the Dead Sea is not dead anymore. Okay? Yeah, it's not even salt sea, it's fresh water, and it's teeming with life. Okay? Who is that? Does it say Mashiach up there? Yod He Vav He. Amen. That's what it says. Go back and read it. Look it up. It's up a little ways in the verse, but if you're reading in the chapter, you'll see it, and that is wherever that verse is found. Okay, in the Tanakh. So Yehovah, people will see with their own eyes. Yehovah returning to Zion. They'll break out into joy. We'll break out into joy. We'll sing together. You reigns of Jerusalem. For Yehovah has comforted his people. He has redeemed Jerusalem. Yehovah has bared his holy arm in the sight of every nation, every goyim, every Gentile, people who do not believe in all. And all the ends of the earth will see the salvation of our Elohim. He'll show, hey, I spread my salvation everywhere. When I scattered you, you thought you were lost out and nobody knew where you were. And God doesn't even know where you are. If you're one of those people, today, remember, God knows you. Ask for somebody to pray for you, and they'll be happy to do that. Who are the islands and distant nations? Israel. Who's Israel? Who is the servant, and what is the mission? He is to restore the tribes and bring back Israel, and to be a light for the nations, the Gentiles, the Goyim. Goyim is the word in Hebrew for Gentiles or nations. It basically means out of covenant people. You're part of the people of Elohim. You're part of the children of God, the children of Israel, just his children in general. Are you one of his people? Then you technically aren't a Gentile anymore. You technically aren't of the nations that are out of covenant. Okay? So just keep a general thing in your mind. We're not going to be nitpicking, saying, well, he said I was not a Gentile Christian anymore. Anyway, whatever. All right, so generally it means out of covenant. He's not of the people of Elohim, not of the people of the book. How's that sound? Not a friend of Israel. Okay, well, you're a friend of Israel. Okay. Listen to me, you islands. This is Yeshayahu 49, 1 through 6. Listen to me, you islands. Remember what we said about North America, South America, Central America? You distant nations. Before I was born, Yehovah called me. From my birth, he has made mention of my name. My mention? Okay. Who's he talking about? Verse 2, he made my mouth. Who's the he? Made my mouth like a sharpened sword. In the shadow of his hand, he hid me. He made me into a polished arrow and concealed me in his quiver. He said to me, You are my servant Israel, in whom I will display my splendor. But I said, I have labored to no purpose. I have spent my strength in vain and for nothing. Yet what is due me is in Jehovah's hand, and my reward is with my Elohim. And now Jehovah says, he who formed me, did he form you? In my mother's, in the womb, to be his servant, to bring back Yaakov, Jacob, Israel. Remember, all the same name, same person. Different, when he was renamed, remember when he was doing the wrestling and all that stuff, and then, he could name Israel from now on. And gather Israel to himself. So he's going to gather Israel to himself. That's the northern kingdom, guys. For I am honored, and by the way, if anybody has any question, when he says the whole house of Israel, then he's talking about northern kingdom and southern kingdom. Okay, but generally when he's talking about Israel or Jacob or Yaakov or Joseph or all these different terms is generally referring to the northern kingdom. Ephraim, house of Ephraim. Okay. And the 10 tribes, associated with it. For I am honored in the eyes of Jehovah, and my Elohim has been my strength. He says, it is too small a thing for you to be my servant to restore the tribes of Yaakov, Jacob, and bring back those of Israel. Okay, so he said the same thing twice. To restore the tribes of Jacob, and the same thing, it means the exact same thing, same people. Bring back those of Israel. Jacob and Israel are the same person. It's the same us. He's going to bring us back. Who is this? Who is this he that he keeps talking about? And I will make you also a light for the nations, the Gentiles, the Goyim, that you may bring my salvation to the ends of the earth, which he said he would do. Mashiach, guys, in case you're wondering who he is. Prisoners in a cistern that has no water in it. Yehuda is the bow, and Ephraim is its arrow. So here's that verse, Zechariah 9 through 13. Rejoice with all your heart, daughter of Zion. Shout out loud, daughter of Jerusalem. Look, your king is coming to you. He is righteous, he is victorious, yet he is humble. He's riding on a donkey, yes, a lowly donkey's colt. Now we all know that's the prophecy of Mashiach when he went to Jerusalem on Palm Sunday, kind of the Palm first day of the week. I will banish chariots from Ephraim and war horses from Jerusalem. You don't need them anymore, guys. The warrior's bow will be banished, and he will proclaim shalom, in Hebrew, to the Goyim, to the nations. He will rule from sea to sea. Who is he? Mashiach. And from the Euphrates rivers to the ends of the earth. Also, you, by the blood of your covenant, I release your prisoners from the dungeon, the cistern that has no water in it. By the way, if you study thematically, you know that dungeons and cisterns that have no water in it, and pits, it's the same as Sheol, death, the grave. This is Mashiach, guys. All right, verse 12. The return to the stronghold, you prisoners with hope. We're going to be going back with hope. For this day I declare to you that I will grant you double reparation. For I bent Yehuda as my bow, and Judah, southern kingdom, and made Ephraim, northern kingdom, its arrow. We're going to work together, guys. Imagine that. I will rouse your son Zion and make you like a warrior's sword against your son's Greece. All right. Jehovah Tzebaoth is returning. He will live in Jerusalem. Jehovah of hosts is returning and will live in Jerusalem. I can say that in English there. He will save his people and bring them back from the east and from the west. Thank you, Yah. Referred to as the remnant. Okay? The remnant normally means descendant, seed, generation after generation after generation, and generations were scattered. Over 2,700 years ago, the northern kingdom the 10 tribes were scattered as seed sown. When Yah, the farmer, sows the seed, he knows where he threw out the wheat. He knew where he threw out, the corn, I guess. I don't know if you do. But anyway, you get the idea. This is how they used to scatter, because they didn't have International Harvester back then, or John Deere. Okay. All right, so here it is, Zechariah. Those are the points to get out of this. Chapter 8 of Zechariah, verses 1 through 8, and we'll probably continue on. A message, remember, we're reading whole prophecies now. Yeah. A message came from Jehovah Tzebaoth, Jehovah of hosts. Jehovah of hosts says, I am extremely jealous on Zion's behalf. Zion. Remember what we said, Messiah is ruling and reigning. Okay, first 1,000 years. Guys, remember? And I'm jealous for her with great fury. Jehovah says, I am returning to Zion, and Jehovah says this, not me, Jehovah, will live in Jerusalem. Then Jerusalem will be called City of Truth, Yehovah Sabaoth's mountain, the mountain of the Holy One. Yehovah Sabaoth says, old men and old women will once again sit in the open places of Jerusalem, each one with a cane in his hand because of their great age. The city's open places will also be full of boys and girls playing there. Yehovah Sabaoth says, this may seem amazing to the survivors in those days, but it also must seem amazing to me, says Yehovah Sabaoth. It's going to surprise me. Yehovah Sabaoth says, I will save my people from the lands east and west, and I will bring them back. See, I will bring them back, he says, and they will live in Jerusalem, in Zion, nation. Okay? They will be my people, Lo Ami. In the very place where I'm quoting another verse, not on the screen, Hosea says, Lo Ami, not my people, Lo Ami, not my people. But in the very place where it said, not my people, the very place, going back. You go to the land today that says, I'm not your people, you guys aren't my people, his people. but yeah, in that place, and they will live in Jerusalem. So in the very place where we go back, it will say, what? And I will be their people. So the first part of the verse says, they'll say, Lo Ami, not my people. But in the very place where it said they're not my people, it will be said, you are children of the living Elohim. And what does that say? I will be their Elohim. You ought to read this in Hebrew. It's probably exact word for word with no letter difference or anything. With faithfulness and justice. Okay. Continuing on, verse 9. Yehovah of hosts says, take courage. You are only here. Listen to this. So if you haven't heard about the Greater Exodus, you don't know anything about this, here's what we're talking about. Take courage. You are only hearing now, in these days, in 2019, July, these words spoken by the prophets, the Nevi'im, when the foundation was being laid for rebuilding the temple, Ezra and Nehemiah days, guys, when it was spoken then. And you guys are just now hearing about the Greater Exodus. What's the deal? Where are the shepherds supposed to teach the people? Okay, by the way, just to get you to, every major prophet, and I think every single minor prophet speaks of the Greater Exodus, prophesies that it's going to happen. How much did we hear about it? How much did you know about it? How much do you know about it for today? Let's keep reading the full prophecies. Take courage, you are now only hearing now, in these days, these words spoken by the prophets when the foundation was being laid for rebuilding the temple. The second temple, Solomon's temple. The house of Yehovah Sabaoth. That's what it means to be the temple, or mikdash in Hebrew, the mikdash. That's different than the tabernacle. For prior to that time, there were wages neither for people nor animals. In other words, remember they came back after the 70 years, Yehuda comes back, the southern kingdom. They come back after 7 years of exile. We're at 2,700 years, guys. There wasn't jobs, there wasn't place, Okay. Moreover, it was unsafe for anyone to go out or come in because of the enemy. For I will set all people against each other, he said. Verse 11, here's the promise for the future. But from now on, I, Yah speaking, will not treat the remnant of this people as I did before, says Yehovah Sabaoth. Now they will sow in shalom. The vine will give its fruit. The ground will produce its yield. The sky will give its dew. And I will cause the remnant of this people to possess all these things. What you guys don't probably realize is the Romans, when they trashed the city and destroyed the temple, they also salted nearly the entire country of Israel that we know today. You say, well, where could you get that much salt? Anybody been to the drive from this Dead Sea down to Elat? You got about 100 miles of that, well, I don't know, 50 miles of it. You got mountains of salt 200 feet high. You think they're just mountains. It's just got dust on them. You go brush the dust off, it's mountains of salt 200 feet high all along the whole, that'd be the west side of the road for like 50 miles at least. Okay? Does that surprise you? You can brush it off and get a little chunk, and chip it, and take it and put it in your mouth and eat it. Salt, very salty. These are mountains of salt. They didn't have to go very far to salt all the fields and all the places where you plow, and it's on and on and on. Anyway, all right. So let's see where we're supposed to. Okay. All right, so let's pick up here, verse 12. Now they will sow on shalom, the vine will give its fruit, and the ground will produce its yield, and the sky will give its dew, and I will cause the remnant of this people to possess all these things. So you're going to have bumper crops. You're going to have produced the ground that hasn't produced for 2,000 years through our time. Okay, now the next set of verses. Yah is going to distinguish between the house of Yehuda, the southern kingdom, and the house of Israel, the northern kingdom. What are we? From northern, lost 10 tribes. Nobody knows where they are. They're lost. Well, only to you, not to Yah. He knows where every one of the seeds and the descendant of the seed of the seed of the seed of the seed, 2,700 years. And some of them are sitting here today. He will say both. Grab the cloak of a Yehudi, that's a Jew in Hebrew, because Elohim is with them. You guys know this verse. Okay, right? All right, so anyway, so here's the next set of passages. Zechariah 8, 13 through 19. House of Yehuda and the house of Israel. Southern kingdom, northern kingdom. Just as you were formerly accursed among the nations, so now I will save you, and you will be a blessing. Amen. It doesn't matter if you want to be, you're going to be a blessing. Monty, you're going to be a blessing. Okay? Don't be afraid, but take courage, for Yehovah Sabaoth says, just as I resolved to do you harm, to do you harm when your forefathers provoked me, Yehovah Sabaoth says, and I did not relent, so now I resolve to do good to Jerusalem and to the house of Yehuda. See, southern kingdom there. Don't be afraid. This is specifically to the southern kingdom, guys. Don't be afraid. These are the things that you, don't be afraid. But we got terrorists. So these are the things you are to, we got kites. These are the things you are to do. Speak the truth to each other. In your courts, administer justice that is true and conducive to shalom. Don't plot harm against each other, and don't love perjury. For all these things I hate, says Yehovah. This word of Yehovah Sabaoth came to me. Yehovah Sabaoth says, the fast days of the fourth month, the fifth month, fourth month, the fifth month, the seventh month, and the 10th months are to become times of joy, gladness, and cheer for the house of Yehuda, the southern kingdom. Therefore, love, truth, and shalom. And by the way, the seventh month, you guys know what that is? The fast. What's the fast of the seventh month? It's not true. What? Yom Kippur. Not Yom Kippur. Sorry, Ryan. Oh, no, you guys know who Ryan is. It's how you can tell you're from America if you talk like that, you know. Okay, because Yom means sea of Kippur, or no, Kippur. I don't know. There's Yom Kippur. It's a long U, Kippur, and the long O in Hebrew. All O's in Hebrew are long, guys. Yom Kippur. Everybody say it. Yom Kippur. There you go. That's the fast of the seventh month. It's going to be times of joy and gladness. Okay, verse 20. Yehovah Sabaoth says, in the future, peoples and inhabitants of many cities will come. The inhabitants of one city will travel to another and say, we must go and ask Yehovah's favor and consult Yehovah Sabaoth. I'll go too. Yes, many peoples and powerful nations will come to consult powerful nations. Include presidents, will come to consult Yehovah Sabaoth, may you do it today, in Jerusalem and to ask Yehovah's favor. Yehovah Sabaoth, it doesn't matter who is the president or which country. When that time comes, 10 men will take hold, speaking of all the languages of the nations, and will grab hold of the cloak of a Yehudi and say, we want to go with you because we have heard Elohim is with you. May we be that people too as well. He reverses the exile of his people, Israel, the northern kingdom, and Yehuda, both, the southern kingdom. He will return us to Eretz Israel, the land of Israel, the promised land. From far away, you feel far away, you know how many hours flying at 400 miles an hour it is, or whatever it is. And our offspring, our descendants. And they will bring us back from our country of exile. The descendants, I said us, but us and our descendants as well, if being for the future. Jeremiah 30, verse 1 through 7. Here we go. We're going to go to 30 and 31, guys. This is a lot. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to go as quickly as I can, but I want you to get this feel. Just listen up. Here we go. This word came to Jeremiah from Jehovah. Verse 2. This is what the Yehovah, the Elohim of Israel, says. Write all the words I have spoken to you in a scroll, Sefer. For the day is coming. Get attention. The day is coming, says Yehovah, when I'll reverse the exile of my people, Israel, northern kingdom, and Yehuda, Judah, southern kingdom. Says Yehovah, I will cause them to return to the land. Did that not start already with the tribes saving the tents of Yehuda, right? Going back to the land that I gave their ancestors, and they will take possession of it. We'll do it, guys. Paul, you're going to take possession of the land over there. These are the words Jehovah spoke concerning Israel, northern kingdom, and Yehuda, southern kingdom. Verse 5. Here's what Jehovah says. We have heard a cry of terror. Just happen to use terror. Of fear and not of peace, not of shalom. By the way, it's not peace, it's absence of war. You guys know shalom is blessing beyond measure in every area of your life, financial, family, everything, your crops, everything your hand sets your hand to do. Okay, right? Their parents need to trust and believe Yah to do that for you, okay, for your family, okay, because He will do it. He will do it. Shalom in the home. Ask now and see, can men give birth to children? Why then do I see all the men with their hands on their stomachs? This is pretty good, guys. Okay, for example, living example. You can't see on the video, but my stomach is out there. Why their stomachs like women in labor? Every face turned pale. Why? It's the day of Yah, guys. How dreadful will that day be? For there has never been one like it. A time of trouble for Yaakov, for Israel. Okay? But out of it, he will be saved. That's the thing we've got to focus on. That's the thing we've got to focus on. Turning to verse 8, on that day, there it is, on that day, says Yehovah Sabaoth, I will break his yoke from off your neck. I will snap your chains. Foreigners, remember, did you feel like a foreigner a while ago? Foreigners no longer enslave him. Well, the people around us will no longer enslave us in the country where you're at. Instead, they will serve Yehovah their Elohim and their king, David their king. We're going to serve him, whom I will raise up for them. So, verse 10, don't be afraid, Yaakov my servant, says Northern Kingdom, says Yehovah, or be alarmed, Israel, same thing, Northern Kingdom, for I will return you from far away, and your offspring from their country of exile. So our children will get to go too. By the way, that's part 2. Remember, rear children, and return. Okay, I was supposed to do that commercial at the end, I guess. All right, so Yaakov will again be quiet, at rest, and no one will make him afraid. He'll have shalom in the country, in the land. For I am with you to save you, says Yehovah. I will finish off all the Goyim, the nations, the Gentiles, where I have scattered you. However, you I will not finish off, but will discipline you, ouch, only as you deserve. I will not completely destroy you. That's good to know. For here's what Yehovah says, your wound is past healing, your injury most severe. No one thinks your wound can be bandaged. They can't find the 10 lost tribes. They're lost forever in history. That's I won't say who believes that or teaches that. It seems like. But you have no medicines that can heal you. So there's no hope for you. All right, we're going to continue on, but here's what you got to get out of the next set of verses. In the Acharit Hayamim, that's Hebrew for in the end of days. End of the days is what it says. Oh, it says the end of days. Then you will understand. Okay, I think Ruach HaKodesh. Well, same kind of thing. Acharit Hayamim. Then you will understand. Continuing verse 14 now of chapter 30. All your friends have forgotten you. They no longer seek you out. I have struck you down as an enemy would, punished you as a cruel man would, because of your great wickedness, because of your many sins. Why cry that your wound and pain are past healing? There's no way we could make it back to the land. They won't let us. Okay, I hear people say that. Continuing in the middle of verse 15. I have done these things to you because of your great wickedness, because of your many sins. But all who devour you will be devoured. All your enemies will go into exile. Those who plunder you will be plundered. Those who pillage you will be pillaged. Anybody ever felt plundered or pillaged? You don't use those words very much anymore, but we used to. For I will restore your health. I will heal you of your wounds, says Yehovah, because they called you an outcast, Zion, with no one who cares about her. Well, we certainly feel that way. Yehuda, our brother, thinks we're dead, or as good as dead is what we are, but because we're in exile. We are in exile still, guys, until this happens. And then, thus says Yehovah, verse 18, I will return Yaakov's captives to their tents, and I will take pity on his dwellings. Cities will be rebuilt on their own tells, with palaces where they're supposed to be. Anybody not know what a tell is? Raise your hand if you don't know a tell. Okay. A tell is a place where an ancient city was, and it got destroyed in battle or war, and somebody overtook it on it and destroyed the buildings and stuff like that. Well, they didn't have bulldozers and earth-moving equipment to bulldoze it out of the way and then build anew. So they would just pile dirt over it, level it out, and then start building on top of that. Put their rocks there, build their houses and the buildings and so on. And then the next, generations later, 100 years later, then another army comes and destroys the city, and so then they pile dirt there, and pretty soon, after layer after layer after layer after layer, you have a tell. And what is a tell? Of a perfect example, anybody been to the land? Tell Megiddo, Armageddon. Armageddon, is that what you said? No, you said Armageddon. Well, it's Har-Megiddo, or Armageddon. Har-Megiddo means, Har is the Hebrew word for mountain. So it's the mountain of Megiddo. Well, what it is, it's not a God Elohim-made mountain. It's a man-made mountain, because when layer after layer after layer building, pretty soon you have a pretty good-sized hill there that you're building your city back on. Okay, and that's what is the tell, and that's what Har Megiddo is, the mountain of Megiddo, the tell of Megiddo, tell Megiddo. So the battle of Har Megiddon or Armageddon. Okay, see, we butcher all the words. Anyway, it's what that is talking about, the land and the plains around, because adjacent to that is the Valley of Jezreel. So anyway, all right, so that's what the tells are. Okay. So from them, verse 19, will come thanksgiving and the sound of people celebrating. This I will increase them, and they will not be decreased. I will honor them, and they not be despised. They will not be despised. Their children, perk up, parents. Their children will be as they used to be. Their community confirmed in my presence. I will punish everyone who oppresses them. Their leader will be one of their own. Remember the prophecy of Moshe and Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 18. I'll bring one from your own people, blah, 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 blah. Okay, verse chapter 18. Go look it up. All right. One of their own, their ruler will come from among them. I will cause him to come close and let him approach me. Otherwise, who will guarantee his heart enough to approach me? Says Yehovah. Verse 22, you will be my people, and I will be your Elohim. Where did he get that? Have I heard that before? He's just repeating itself, because it's going to come to pass, guys, in the very place. Okay. Verse 23, look, the storm of Yehovah bursting out in fury. We're talking the day of Yehovah, guys. A sweeping storm whirling down upon the heads of the wicked. Yehovah's fierce anger will not abate until he accomplishes the purposes in his heart. In the Akarit Hayamim, in the end of days, you will understand. Elohim of all the tribes of Israel, Ami, my people. Yehovah saved his people and the remnant of Israel, gathered from the north and the far ends of the earth. He will come. We will come weeping and praying as he brings us back. Capital H. And he is a father to Israel, and Ephraim is his firstborn son. He who scattered Israel is gathering us. Chapter 31. When that time comes, in that day, at that time, there you go, another thing. It says, Yehovah, I will be Elohim of all the clans of the tribes of Israel, and they will be my people. Same word, different translation probably. And they will be my people. See, there it is. Lo-mi, my people. Here's what Yehovah says. The people escaping the sword found favor in the desert. I have brought Israel to its rest. From a distance, Yehovah appeared to me, saying, I love you with an everlasting love. This is why in my grace, not yours, my grace, I draw you to me. Once again, I will build you, and you will be rebuilt, virgin of Israel, northern kingdom. Once again, equipped with your tambourines, you will go out and shout and dance with the merrymakers, so don't throw away your tambourine. Once again, you will plant vineyards on the hills of Shomron, the Samaria, guys, the Shomron, and those doing the planting will have the use of its fruit. Hey, the vineyards, hey, yay, ha-yovel. For a day will come when the watchman on Mount Ephraim will call, come, let's go up to Zion, to Yehovah or Elohim, Messiah, Mashiach, ruling and reigning over Zion, guys. Verse 7, for here's what Yehovah says, sing with joy for Yaakov, shout for the chief of nations, proclaim your praise and say, Yehovah, you have saved your people, the remnant, the descendants of the remnant of Israel, the northern kingdom. Look, I am bringing them from the land in the north, gathering them from the far ends of the earth, from among them are the blind, the lame, women with children, women in labor, altogether a vast throng returning here. to the land, guys. They will come weeping. How will it come? We'll come weeping and praying as he brings us back. I said, and as I bring them back, Jehovah speaking, I will lead them by the streams of water on smooth paths that they won't stumble, for I am a father to Israel, and Ephraim is my firstborn son. Okay, northern kingdom. Nation, we talked about sometime, you'll have to ask me some other time, we're running low on time, is about the firstborn son. Why the firstborn son? Ephraim was the secondborn of the two hands with this cross. But there's a reason. The nations hear the word of Jehovah. Proclaim it in the coastland far away. Say, he who scattered Israel has gathered him, guarding him like a shepherd his flock. Your children will return to their own territory. Where were we before? The northern kingdom. Where were the 10 tribes before? That's what we're talking about. Ephraim. Generally north of Jerusalem. Okay? Verse 11, for Jehovah has ransomed Yaakov, so he's ransomed us, he paid our price, and redeemed us from the hands of those who are too strong for him. They, or we, will come and sing on the heights of Zion, the mountains of Zion, streaming in the goodness of Jehovah to the grain, the wine, the olive oil, and the young flock and the herd. The flock is the sheep and the herd is the goats. So we're going to all bring back. They themselves will be like a well-watered garden, never to languish again. Then the virgin will dance for joy, young man and old man together. We're going to dance, guys, again. For we'll turn, even these people, that was my knee. I stand too long in one place. So altogether, the middle of verse 13, for I will turn their mourning into joy, comfort, and gladden them after their sorrow. I will give the Kohanim, the priests, their fill of rich food. Oh boy, you think you had rich food now. And my people will be, my people will be satisfied with my bounty, says Jehovah. This is what Jehovah says. A voice is heard in Ramah, lamenting and bitter weeping. It doesn't mean that's happening then, because listen carefully on this next verse when I turn the screen. A voice is heard in Ramah, lamenting and weeping. We know that was prophesied and mentioned in the Brit Hadashah whenever the 2-year-old baby's in Bethlehem. Okay. It is Rachel. That's how you say her name in Hebrew. Rachel. Rachel is weeping for her children, refusing to be comforted for her children because they are no longer alive. This is what Jehovah says to them. Stop your weeping and dry your eyes, for your work will be rewarded, says Jehovah. They will return from the enemy's land, so there is hope for your future. You come even from, I better not name countries, but there is hope for your future, says Jehovah. Your children, Tammy, or whomever has children in it, Paul and everybody that's a mom, Latrina, David and Nathan, David and Nathan will return from the enemy's land. Your children return to their own territory, northern kingdom. I hear Ephraim, northern kingdom, bemoaning himself. You disciplined me, and I took your discipline like a young ox not used to a yoke. Let me return, and I will return, for you are Jehovah, my Elohim. This is what your children are going to say, and us as well. Yes, I turned away, but later I repented when I had been made to understand. I struck my thigh in shame and remorse, bearing the weight of the disgrace acquired when I was young. Can't we all say that? Isn't Ephraim my very dear son, a child who delights in me so? He's speaking about us. This is how he speaks to us. I speak about him all the time. He speaks about us all the time, guys. I can't help but recall him to mind. In some, I deeply yearn for him. I will surely show him favor, says Jehovah. Okay, we're going to continue on. He beckons us to come back, Virgin Israel, to these cities of yours, house of Israel and house of Yehuda. Verse 21, we're up to verse 21 on 31. Set up road signs, erect guideposts, pay attention to the highway, the path on which you travel. Come back, Virgin Israel. Come back to these cities of yours. We're supposed to come back, guys? He's beckoning us to come. How long will you hesitate, you unruly daughter? For Jehovah has created something new on earth, a woman with the strength of a man. Here's what Jehovah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, the northern kingdom, says. This expression will be used again in the land of Yehuda and in its cities after I've returned their exiles. May Jehovah bless you, home of justice, holy mountain. Kadosh, Har Kadosh. In it will live together Yehuda, southern kingdom, and all its cities, the farmer and those who lead the flocks. For I've satisfied the weary and filled the needs of all in distress. Verse 26. At this point I woke up and I looked around, but I had enjoyed my sleep. Here the days are coming. Okay, the day of Yahweh. Says Yehovah, when I will sow the house of Israel, northern kingdom, and the house of Yehuda, southern kingdom. He's going to sow. What's he going to sow us? With the seed of humans and the seed of animals. We're going to produce offspring. And our animals are going to produce offspring. At that time, just as I used to watch over them with the intent to uproot, break down, overthrow, when he was mad at us and we're not behaving and not obeying his word. Overthrow, destroy, do harm us, all these things that he was looking at us to do. So then I will watch over them to build and plant. So he's going to now build and plant. Yahweh, Yehovah is going to look at that. Verse 29, when those days come, they will no longer say, the fathers have eaten sour grapes, and the children's teeth are set on edge. Rather, each will die for his own sin, and everyone who eats sour grapes, his own teeth will be set on edge, not someone else. Scratch out the word new, and talk about renewed covenant. I don't have time to teach on this very much, but renewed covenant, basically, when you see the word new, generally it means renewed. And renewed covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Yehuda. So when we talk about, this is Jeremiah 31:31 coming up, guys, if you don't know. Okay, and that is this. And I feel like I need to take time to explain this briefly, is that, what's the word for renewed? Well, what we say it all the time. The Brit Kaddish, by now it's not Brit, that's from America, okay? It's Brit, Harikyo, spell it B-R-I-Y-T, and then it'll remind you. It's Brit, that's covenant. And renewed, Brit Chadashah, right? Chadash are forms of the word Hadashah. It's the same word, okay? Sit, sat, set, okay? That's what we're talking about. So it's, and you say, well, I still don't get the renewed part. Okay, what do we call it? Rosh Chodesh, a form of the word Hadashah, Chodesh, okay? It's the new moon, right? Well, no, it's not a brand new moon that never existed before. It's renewed every month. It's renewed. You ladies know that. It's renewed, okay? Well, that's what we're talking about. It's the renewed covenant, and he's renewing it. Jeremiah 31:31, he's not throwing away everything. Now, what's different is our heart of stone versus the heart of flesh. So, not a covenant written on stony hearts, but a covenant written on the heart of flesh. The offspring, the descendants, us and our children of Israel, are a nation again forever. Okay, so here the days are coming, says Yehovah. Verse 31, when I'll make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Yehuda. Okay, northern kingdom and southern kingdom. Wait, where's the Christians and where's all the other religions? And wait a second. Okay, I don't think I'm going to make it on the time here, but we're going as fast as we can here. It will not be. I'd love to tell you guys about a story about this verse, but I can't tell you. It's not time. It will not be like a covenant which I made with the Brit when they made with their fathers on the day I took them by the hand and brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim, because they, for their part, violated my covenant, even though I, God says, for my part was a husband to them, says Yehovah. For this is the Brit, the covenant I will make with the house of Israel, northern kingdom, after those days, says Yehovah. I will put my Torah within them and write it on their hearts, and I will be their Elohim, not Lo-Ami, but Ami, and they will be Ami, my people. No longer will any of them teach his fellow community member or his brother, know Yehovah, for they will all know me from the least to them to the greatest. For I will forgive their wickednesses and remember their sins no more. And now, I can't show you in this one verse, but this goes over and over and again, and that's when our propensity and our tendency that we all have within us to sin, even though we prayed the sinner's prayer, we all still, every one of us here today, have that tendency, propensity to sin, to mess up. He's going to remove that from us. Amen. And it's going to be over that time after we know, and I don't have time to teach that. All right, so this is what Yehovah says, who gives the sun as light for the day, who ordaining the laws for the moon and the stars, to provide light for the night, who stirs up the sea until its waves roar, Yehovah Sevot, in his name. Okay, he says this, if these laws that I just mentioned leave my presence, says the law of gravity, all those laws, whatever, it says Yehovah, then the offspring of Israel, the northern kingdom, will stop being a nation in my presence forever. It's not going to happen. This is what Yehovah says also. If the sky above can be measured and the foundations of the earth can be fathomed below, then I will reject all the offspring of Israel, the northern kingdom, for all that they have done. I got a good enough excuse, right? Says Yehovah. No. So, and there's a great teaching out there, but about scattering to the far ends of the heaven, he's going to bring you back there. Okay. Did he know something about the International Space Station or the moon or Or how about Mars? You ought to see that scripture. It's not in here right now. But anyway, it's great. I love it. So look, the days are coming, says Yehovah, when the city will be rebuilt for Yehovah from the tower of Hananel, the grace of El, there, Elohim, to the corner gate, to the measuring line will be stretched straight to Garav Hill, then turned to Goat. He's measuring out the city and the temple. The whole valley of corpses and ash, including all the fields as far as Vadi Kidron, Kidron Valley, guys. And on the corner, to the corner of the horse gate to the east will be separated out for Yehovah. It's all going to be for Yehovah. It will be never uprooted, or destroyed again.
Amen.
Thus says Yehovah, call out to me and I will answer you, and I'll tell you great things, hidden things of which you were unaware, but now you're not anymore. Blessings on you guys. Amen.